Can you hear me?
Yeah, I
You
can hear
there?
you.
Great.
Hi, you're watching India Post Live, India's first web TV news conversation online. I'm Shivraj, and today we're discussing internet addiction. You too can join in by posting on India Post Live. You can also tweet with us, hashtag India Post Live, or even at the rate India Post Live. Right, what is internet addiction? Do you spend all your waking hours online? Do you also socialize with your online friends rather than meet them offline? Well, I hated to break it to you, but you perhaps have something called internet addiction.
Did you know that children in the age group of 13 and 17 are mostly addicted to Facebook? A study by Bangalore's National Institute of Mental Health and Sciences, or NIMHANS, shows that the number of those affected with internet addiction has reached alarming proportions. Psychiatrists in Kerala too feel that net addiction, like substance abuse, has actually reached functional. So NIMHANS has set up a de-addiction clinic, service for healthy use of technology, ironically only a few miles away from Bangalore's IT hub. Those with net addiction are measured on 4 parameters: craving, that is a desire to engage in these behaviors; control, the experiencing the inability to control these behaviors; compulsion, that's engagement in behavior despite no need to; and consequences, or experience effects due to engagement in these behaviors. Treatment can take long depending on the severity of the problem. Compulsive internet use has been identified as a mental health issue in many countries, including the United States. But India is only now waking up to the problem. With only one such specialized clinic in the country, are we still not ready to take this issue seriously?
And it's rather ironic that we're discussing internet addiction on World Social Media Day. Well, joining us in studio to put more perspective to that conversation is Sumit Chopra, who's the analytical research lead at the Blogger's Mind. And also we're joined online by Dr. Kamal. First to you. It's become pretty common practice now where people suddenly wake up in the middle of the night, and I'm a culprit as well, and check online responses and online sort of messages. It is becoming quite a problem, isn't it? Because it does have a long term impact.
You're very right. Online is actually making a person who's in real sense offline. A real person is real person. But when I have to deal with something imaginary, and I'm always anxious. So we've got a lot of people here with even a small thing like a ring anxiety. People are so anxious now. They're anxious watching something on a WhatsApp. You know how many messages on WhatsApp are coming. Similarly, they're just hooked on to their Facebook, which is real big problem for parents, very specifically parents of the kids of adolescent age, even starting from age 10, where they're online every time.
And also, what's happening is it's having an impact on social relationships as well, the ability to communicate and connect with other people.
Exactly. Now, social relationships, as we go back, has to do with facial expressions, has to do with gestures, has to do with a lot of courtesy, a lot of things. But here, they are like short messages, short things. They don't explain much. In any case, you cannot explain much in text. It has to be explained completely. Human emotions are actually glues for relationship. Two people combine together only because they express that yes, hi, how are you? And you express the emotion, not only the word how are you, it's just a word. Who knows what's the emotion behind? So social relationships, if you see very particularly, for example, a husband and a wife relationship, now they are not there, both working partners, double income group is what we are seeing every day here, where they don't have time, and when they come back home, they are again hooked onto their WhatsApp, their Facebook, on the pretext that एक ही तो message कर रही हूँ मैं, and what's your problem? You also do it. Do I stop you? Stuff like that, and they fight and they argue. So with the case of teenage kids and parents, हर time देखो इसको ये phone पे लगा रहता है. Because I'm not on phone. I'm just replying a message to one of my friend who sent a forward. It's just a forward, dad. So इस तरह का every day we see cases here.
Okay. Sumit, just putting sort of the social media angle and aspect of it for individuals and experts like yourself, What have the trends been when you in actually communicating, or is it just a habit forming thing?
So first I'll talk about the trends and the analytics figures I have. So Facebook is now 1.17 billion big community, and there are 100 million active users in India. And Facebook recently, I guess 1 month ago, Facebook has published a very optimistic picture for India, wherein they have said that we want to take this 100 million people active user in India to 1 billion figure. However, let me give you a perspective that there are 243 million internet users in India, and out of them 185 users use internet on their mobile. So there is, of course, there are 50% users who are actively using Facebook out of the total users we have who are using internet. However, what I see is, that's my perspective, that internet has empowered people, and they have given them a fast way to have information. This, I think he has mixed 2 or 3 concepts wherein he has so phone is different from internet. Phone is a medium to communicate. And I think this debate existed 5-10 years ago when when I was growing up as a kid. My parents stopped me from watching TV. So I see that TV, internet is a medium to consume information, and internet has actually simplified this consumption.
But it's also empowered a lot of individuals. So agencies like yourselves are actually working with corporates and saying it's no longer about you talking down, but looking at influencers around who can talk on your behalf, or at least on the technologies that you create. So in some sense, it is empowering, but do you believe that that kind of information flow and update is good if it's consumed responsibly?
Yes, it is. If it is consumed responsibly, yes.
Okay.
It sure is distractive, and people have identified it. Big corporates have identified it. That's why there is a, I've come across a lot of corporates which only open Facebook during lunch hours. Otherwise, it's restricted.
Okay.
But if used in right manner, it is empowering.
Okay. The other thing is, Dr. Khurana, very interestingly, you go to restaurants nowadays and you see folks around a table who've perhaps all decided to go out, but everyone's on their phone. Phenomenon that's here to stay, because there is, of course, interaction happening through their phones as well.
So definitely, as my friend who's an internet expert is saying, it's very, very valid thing. You have a resource. Internet is connectedness. Connectedness is very, very important when it comes to the whole society. Globalization, definitely yes. Only if I'm having information, I can do well. I can play with information and use it to my advantage. But when it comes to addiction, which is, now we need to understand the definition here and the context of the program, if I'm correct. The program is internet addiction. Now, addiction means dependency on anything which amounts to dysfunctionality. Now, dependency on anything. Now, when we talk about addiction, it's various forms. It's alcohol, it's drugs, it's even water. Some people drink so much of water, that's also addiction. Some people depend on so many things. So when we talk about dependency, which amounts to dysfunctionality, when I'm not able to function, now a marriage becomes dysfunctional because the wife doesn't look at the eyes of the husband, but she's always hooked on to the phone, which means WhatsApp. Now I don't know whether calling WhatsApp is internet addiction or not. I don't know whether she's just looking at just the next thing that came up on her Facebook, she's opening that. I don't know to call it that she's on internet or not. So Facebook, but yes, she's dependent. So he complains that you don't pay attention to me, even if she's replying to him. It's there, हाँ चलते हैं हम बाहर, and she's hooked onto her phone. Now it's we call it not disinterest, we call it disinterest. Now if you talk about functionality of a relationship or functionality of a person working in a corporate, if he is always on his phone, even if it is not there on his computer, but then if he is found, so unnecessarily his credibility goes down, even if he didn't mean it, even if he didn't mean it. So lifeline, today's lifeline is Facebook and WhatsApp.
Okay.
To be very, very particular.
Okay, just throwing back a counter to you, Sumit, because you're in the business of getting people online and looking at interesting stories and interesting content. But there is also a flip side as well, because whatever anyone does online is tracked. So I don't know if you've seen the recent report that a lot of couples in Bangalore are actually using data trails in court to file for divorce.
Yes.
So there's a dangerous aspect if you're spending maybe too much time on the internet as well.
So excess of everything is bad. Yes,
Yeah.
of course, addiction to the internet is bad, and it is actually recognized by a lot of corporates and individuals like mine also, that hooking with your, even, I'll bring emails there. So in my work day, I check emails only thrice or 4 times a day, because it's of course is distracting.
And of course, corporates do have certain do's and don'ts of social media usage, but once you're out of that setting, there is really no check and balance.
Yes. So it is up to an individual to have a check on themselves. Yes.
Okay, so we're also joined by the associate editor of Scroll.in, which is an online news platform, Shivam Vij. Now, Shivam, what's your view on this whole phenomenon of internet addiction and the fact that actually there's perhaps just one center Nimans is set up to address the issue?
I'm not sure if I hear you clearly, but I think you're talking about internet addiction, right?
Yes.
Uh,
Yes, we talk about internet addiction and the fact that there is this phenomenon that a lot of people have chosen the internet as a crutch to communicate with people they do not perhaps meet rather than going out there and socializing face to face.
no, you see, well, the internet for one is global socializing. So I can't go out and socialize with my friends across the world in my city. So I choose to socialize with them on the internet because, it's like keeping in touch with them on phone. So it's the global aspect of the internet that you have to keep in mind here. That's part of the reason why people are addicted to the internet. They're Skyping with their old friends across continents and so on. Secondly, I think you have to understand that there probably was more internet addiction before the mobile phone, because people tend to be glued on the computer screen, the desktop, which was immovable. Now, with the mobile phone, they're at least able to multitask between the online and the offline world at the same time. So they can go out to a restaurant. It would be rude to be glued to the mobile phone and not be with your friend. But at least they are able to go out. At least the old image of the internet addict as a person glued to computer screen in a dark room is gone.
Right.
So I think the mobile is a big sort of change. However, the other side of it is the mobile has also made it possible to be online 24/7 in the way the desktop could not do. I think it's a changing technology, and people will adapt to it. I already I meet people when you're meeting them and the mobile phone is out, somebody will say this is antisocial. So it's part of a culture where we are learning to adapt to this. At the same time, who knows, by the time we adapt to it, we'll have Google Glass, and what challenges will that bring?
Okay, yeah, that's a very interesting point. Going across to Pratik Verma as a social media expert. Right.
Yes, Shivam.
Yeah, so we were talking about internet addiction, and Shivam very interestingly said there will always be newer tools to get you hooked onto being online, but it's not such a bad thing, is it?
It is and it isn't. I find internet quite funny actually. Internet provides us a whole medium of it has lots of information. We can do quite a lot there, but what exactly are we doing on internet? Sharing cat videos, right? And clicking photographs of our food and sharing that over the internet. I mean, so I find it quite funny. And talking about addiction to internet, if you're using it for some, you know, as a profession, or you're using it as a research tool, or even to stay connected with friends, then it is fine. But what I see that mostly people use it for frivolous purposes.
Okay, okay, fair enough. And just coming back to you, Sumit, obviously you do a lot of study of consumer behavior before you advise your clients on what approach to use. But there's a flip side as well, because there's a lot of frivolity, as
Yes.
Prateek pointed out, that A. And B, a lot of people, even though there is so much information out there, they're just consuming it, but they're not being judicious about it.
Yes, so I think that there is a fine line, or I don't know if there is a fine line, or but there is a difference between information and knowledge. So in internet, and we have to understand this, internet serves you information. It is a ready information, and you don't have to wait any time. You can pick up your phone or a desktop or iPad, and you can get onto that information. However, how you want to use that information is
Exactly.
knowledge.
Right.
Right, and like you said, that sharing pictures of a nice dish or a nice drink I had in a restaurant, it seems frivolous, yes, but there are people who are taking advantage of this. There are there are thousands and millions of restaurants in the world.
And there are aggregators like
Yes.
that
Zomato
exist out
is
there
one,
that are
yes.
using that to their advantage to provide some sort of analytics on what would be a good place to go and what wouldn't.
Right, yes.
So it's all user
it
defined.
it will empower, like in India, Zomato is there, it will empower me and help me take a decision where I want to spend my night.
Okay.
Yeah.
But just coming back to you, Shivam.
Yeah.
So Shivam, you're running a news portal, and the flip side of internet addiction is, do you also see a lot of trolls stepping in there and sort of dissing the really amazing content that you're putting out? Because that's also a
Well,
flip side. A lot of people have nothing better to do.
Well, my website, scroll.in, is a rarity in the sense that we do not have a comment section.
Okay.
And we debated this internally a lot. And we decided that we don't need a comment section. For one, the internet has moved on in the sense that people share their comments on news articles on Twitter and Facebook, so they don't need a comment section. The comment section of a web page now is therefore purely for trolls.
Right.
I think this is again one of those things. By now, trolling and abuse on the internet is so old that we all should know how to deal with it. And the way to deal with it is to block, ignore, to not give it,
Absolutely.
to not feed the trolls,
Not to feed their
not
frenzy.
give it platforms.
Right, and not feed their frenzy and sort of feed the internet addiction that
Yeah.
most of these people
Yeah,
indulge in.
adding
Okay,
on to
Right.
Shivraj.
yes.
Yeah, adding on to what Shivam said, anonymity over the internet, which is my own personal view, that anonymity over the internet has sharpened the fangs of all these trolls even more, because now they are even they are even more confident because they won't get caught, so they're even more confident while trolling.
Okay, Dr. Khurana, just coming back to you.
Yes.
I think what the consensus in the room is that while internet addiction is a bad thing, what are really the recourses to responsible internet usage that exist in the Indian context? Because, working with a lot of security companies that are worried about cyber bullying and cyber stalking, they say that there needs to be a more comprehensive approach. Do you believe there is one, or there should be one in India?
So definitely, when we talked about only one aspect of internet, which is internet addiction, I am saying what happens. But if you talk about largely, now if I am an addict, I go around and I can be an addict to alcohol. Now it's my choice whether to go and misuse it, abuse it. It's my choice. I can also go and use a WhatsApp or a Facebook in a very healthy manner. Like you go and have just one glass of wine. You just have one mug of beer. You don't need to have whole 5 bottles of beer down your belly. You should not be doing like that. But still people do. So how many of them actually go and to get drunk? How many of them have that lovely, light, nice little drink? How many say we don't need it? So it's a choice. If you go to West, you see that they have wine, one glass of wine with every meal, which is a good enough thing. They say it's healthy.
Right.
One glass of wine is good for your heart, which is so healthy. But then the same thing. Similarly, when we talk about connectedness and dependency on connectedness, there's a line which my friend was
Actually.
talking in the studio.
Okay.
So that line needs to be very carefully observed.
Delineated.
Yes.
Right. We'll also get back to the agency that should be doing that, but we're also joined by Sumit Ranjan, another social media expert from Delhi as well. Sumit, this whole discussion on perhaps too much dependency on the internet. Do you see it happening around you?
Yes, of course. I mean, like everyone else, I've been spending a lot of time over the internet, and I do realize that a lot of people spend a lot of time on the internet for various reasons. I was listening to the discussion, and I have a point of view on this. Like many people believe that following, too much things on the internet or not having your own life. But if some say it's good, some say it's bad. But I just have a question on this. Why it is bad? So suppose if I am an introvert and I somehow am not able to connect with people, outside the internet world. However, when I come to the internet, I see that I'm more happy. I see so many virtual friends. I see that I can share, and now people are listening to me wherever, whatever I do, wherever I go. If I put it, across, people are there. People are following me. So if that makes me happy, if I have a life on the internet and somehow I'm able to not connect myself with the people outside the internet, I don't see what is the problem there.
Okay, that's a fair enough question, and I'm going to throw that to Dr. Khurana. I don't know if you heard what Sumit just said. He says, there are certain people who may not have the social skills, but the internet allows them to develop and be creatively communicating with other folks. And without that inhibitor of actually having to stand up in a room and be nervous about it. So is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a very good thing. See, I want to compare this situation to the past so that we can understand this whole idea very nicely. If you go back in 1970s and 80s when the telephone was just up in the market. Now, some people use telephone to exchange information. When some people are hooked onto phone call and they talk all nonsense, for them it's sense. They are talking. For them it's entertainment and they are going on talking and talking. Similarly, when people talk on or connect on Facebook, it's their choice. Now, for people who are not able to face up, they will send you a SMS. So now, similarly, they are sending a message or a chat message on a Facebook. So how you conduct is your choice. And definitely, he's right that it gives you a better platform whereby you are expressing yourself, yet you don't have to face in front of a live person. So it's a very wise thing. And I also want to talk about something earlier that you said, which is stalking. Now it's about your personal conduct, how you conduct yourself. Why would somebody stalk somebody? No stalker would just randomly stalk anybody. It's how you carry yourself, how much of details you put. So it's all in your hands, and these things can happen to anybody, not only on internet. It can happen on offline as well,
Right,
on a
but also,
telephone.
Dr. Khurana, there have been a lot of instances where the authorities are now stepping in
Yes.
because there are people who use internet so much, doing so many wrong things. Who really do you believe is the agency that should, because like Sumit was saying in studio, at least in the corporate setup, there are certain do's and don'ts of social media because corporates realize their reputation is at risk. Also, the reputation of their personnel meeting other clients is at risk. But in the open world, who do you think should really examine the excesses or the limitations of how much people should be on the internet?
See now, the way if we talk about alcohol and tobacco, there are so many rules that the departments have taken care of. Social welfare ministry, for that matter. Here we talk about information and telecommunication. Information and IB ministry, information and broadcasting
But is
ministry.
that a good thing or a bad thing, sir? Because a lot of people saying that the government stepping in is not the answer because, like you said, if it's an addiction, it's really for experts and people who deal with human relationships that should perhaps be brought in and look at it more seriously.
See, more than anything else, if we talk about education, if we talk about imparting the right information around how to use internet, how you can add value, so more of education awareness at the school level is what I think will be the best way to do so.
Right.
Now, if you, yeah, this is what
That's
I
very
see.
interesting. And interestingly, a long time ago, I met a young individual who said that the problem is that, and this is taking off from what Dr. Khurana says, is that we don't have an internet curriculum at the level of school. Do you believe that might also be an answer, just catching them young and sort of educating them on the utility of the online rather than the ability to just do whatever you want with it?
Yes, I completely agree with him on one point that we can't build walls and gates and try to stop them. See, we live in a democracy and we should not stop anyone. I think this is one of the free medium which can bring or which is an escape from, let's say, a media governed society, right? Because again, there were allegations that industrialists can control media. So the solution to that was a free media. which was in the face of Twitter and Facebook and WhatsApp, and it's exchanging information. And when I said I'd agree with him, is I think the awareness at parents level, that what could be the consequences, at teachers level, at corporate level, is the best way to tackle the problem.
All right, Shivam, coming to you, I mean, what's your view on how or who the agent of change should be to sort of see responsible and useful use of the internet?
I don't know. I think I feel slightly uncomfortable with the terms of this discussion. I think a lot of stereotyping is going on. People who are not socially adept are therefore internet addicts. Fact is that everybody these days is an internet addict. Everybody's on Facebook, so everybody can't be socially inadept. We're talking about internet addiction here, some kind of abnormality or disease. Fact is, people have been addicted to TV for far more years than they've been addicted to the internet. Internet addiction is far more manageable as compared to TV addiction, for instance. So I think, for one, we are blowing this out of proportion. There is internet addiction. It's a problem. Yes, the problem comes with technology. It goes with technology. We learn to adapt to it. I really don't see what the big fuss here is.
Okay, Prateek, your view?
My view is that, again, in some parts I agree with Shivam. Internet is a medium, and how we use it is up to us. So there's no question. Some people are addicted, maybe, but that's how I guess they use it. Because if I remember correctly, I've even seen a comic strip that came a few months ago, where the Maslow's need hierarchy pyramid, they had shown that internet was as below the physiological need, as the first need that everyone nowadays has. So maybe that's our changing times.
Sumit Ranjan, did
Yeah,
you feel
well-
that your question was answered by the discussion so far?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear that word again.
No, just wanted your reactions to the what you've been hearing in the discussion, because you did have a question going into the conversation.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with what Mr. Shubham said. I mean, I think with time, things will become passe. Like TV addiction was there at one point of time, and now there is internet. And I'm pretty sure in 10, 15 years from now, there would be something which would be pretty much outdoor and not just there in front of your system, right? So we would be expecting something from the technology where we would be, moving out from room and doing things outside. So we would just have to wait for the time till we have something like that.
Okay, thank you. And Sumit, I'll just give you the last word. Where do you see the internet going? Do you see usage becoming far more for the use of doing or making a difference and being more communicative, or do you see, like what Shivam said, perhaps an exaggeration of what we're saying, internet addiction sort of just becoming passe?
I feel the internet has long way to go. So, like he said, I'll try to answer his answer in a way wherein I'll bring out the difference between a TV addiction and a internet. So, TV addiction, like I said, that with internet has empowered people to go back and have the same information anytime what they want. But however, TV did not solve this problem, and internet has actually brought TV to your PCs or to your mobile. So now you can carry TV anywhere you want. And call me stereotype, but I actually do not enjoy this scene that we are in a meeting and I find people hooking onto their phone. I don't know what they're looking for. However, or when the important discussions are happening there. But internet, as I said, empowers people with information, and it has a long way to go. I see that your TVs, your fridge, your TV, all devices would be more interactive.
Yeah, the internet of
Yes,
things.
and the only way to connect those devices and to, let's say, exchange information is through internet, because
Alright.
that's the DNA of internet.
Alright.
It exchanges information.
Okay, so there is a double-edged sword here. There is the fact that it is actually a useful tool. It's how you use it, and perhaps some etiquette coming
Yes.
into the picture as well.
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Shivam. Thank you, Sumit. And thank you, Prateek and Dr. Khurana, for joining us there. You too can continue the conversation by logging on to India Post Live. Thank you for watching.